Hello, it's layperson Lisa with a reflection on the readings for the 26th Sunday in Ordinary Time. Today we're going to talk about trees and we're going to talk about cats. So bear with me if you are a dog person. So today's readings are about humility. In the first reading, we hear how the Lord is just sending forth the Holy Spirit, not only to Moses, but also to the elders, and not only to those who are just in this holy place, but to other people as well. And the Lord just wants us to be vessels of His Holy Spirit. But I know sometimes in my life, when I see somebody doing something amazing, I get like spiritual jealousy, like, I wish I could do that. Like, that person is so amazing at that. And then I start to compare myself to the other, but that is not who God calls us to be. He calls us to use the gifts that He has blessed us with, not to compare ourselves with others. For me, I've played sports growing up, so I have a very competitive nature, but that's not humility. We're called to celebrate each other. It's like yes, last week we talked about the litany of humility, and it's like the last line, Lord, that I may have the desire that others may be holier than I, provided that I am as holy as I should be. Like, what? Like, so hard. But yet we should celebrate the holiness that we see in each other. We should celebrate the way that we are seeing others being vessels of the Holy Spirit. We should celebrate others for their gifts. And let's get to trees. So behind me is a pine tree, and I'm sitting to the side so you can kind of see the branches there. So in the gospel, we hear how if our hand is causing us to sin, to cut it off. If our foot is causing us to sin, cut it off. And I just was looking at the pine trees, and when there is something, when the branch is no longer healthy, when the branch is no longer producing pine cones or pine needles, it becomes dormant, and eventually the wind will knock it off, just as you can see behind me. And that's what we're called to do. We're called to be obedient in our life. If there's something in our life that is keeping us from living out the fullness of who we are called to be, as the universal call to holiness, we are each called to be who God created us to be. And so sometimes that takes some pruning, some shedding of the branches, if you will. But sometimes we're like a banana tree, and banana trees, if they're in their growing season and they're in the sun and you cut one down, it just starts to grow back up. But sometimes that's what happens in our lives. We work with Jesus to detach from certain things, but if we don't persevere in this constant desire for detachment, then these things can start sprouting back up. And so we are called to invite the Holy Spirit to allow, not only first to reveal what we need to detach from, what is the obstacle between who we are and who we're called to be, and then allow Jesus to enter into that situation, enter into that obstacle, and allow Him to let that branch shed. So cats. So I have two cats. One cat, her name's Gianna, and if I pay any attention to my other cat, Azzy, Gianna will come moving in, and she won't let me just spend time petting Azzy. She wants some pets too, but she's always on the move. So she's like Martha. She's always going. She's always moving. Whereas Azzy is like Mary. He just wants to sit with me and just. It's so sweet because he'll just put his face like right in front of mine and just have this intimate encounter. And so often that's how we can detach. It's through this intimate, intentional time with Jesus, which is prayer. And so sometimes our prayers on the go, like Mary, no, like Martha, we're constantly on the move, and it's hard to have those intimate moments when Gianna wants me to pet her and she's constantly moving away. Like, I can't have like this intimate like moment with her because she's constantly going back and forth. But when Azzy is just sitting with me, just spending time with me, then that is how we develop an intimate relationship with Jesus. And so we're just called, he just desires for us to sit in silence with him, to spend time with him. And that is how we can invite him in to grow in humility, in obedience, and he can help detach us from the things that are keeping us from who he calls us to be, this call to holiness. And so where is the Lord asking you to detach from something? What obstacles he asking you to invite him into so that he can help you live a life of holiness?